Drop that off to the side. And grab the link here.
You want to meet ourselves for now, Professor Knox? You want to meet ourselves for now,
Uh,
Professor Knox? You want to meet ourselves?
uh do what by yourself?
Huh?
I'm sorry. You said you're asking to do something.
Yes, I was asking if you want us to meet ourselves for now.
Oh yeah, that's fine. Just just chime in whenever you have a question or you need me to slow down or review a couple of points.
Okay.
All right, so I got the link up here in chat. Okay, and then I'm going to also post this in the classroom. All right, cool. And then I'm going to share my screen. All right, cool. All right, so back into it. I'm starting with blank After Effects here. Get this out the way for now. All right, so new composition. Again, always using naming conventions here.
I can't see your screen.
Oh, it's not popping up yet?
Nope, it's not yet.
Let's see. Just refresh it again. All right, anything yet?
Nope, nothing yet. Lily, can you see your screen?
Yeah, I can see my own
Oh
screen.
yeah,
Oh, yeah,
I see it.
Hmm.
yeah. Oh,
I don't know why I can't see it. I may have to leave and come back then.
well,
Okay.
there's also the link. It's also streaming online live, so you can click on that, and that should pop up. That should show my
Okay.
screen.
Okay.
All right, cool. So in After Effects, new composition here.
I see.
So I'm sorry, what was that? Oh boy. All right, sorry about that. Let me mute these guys. Okay. Looks like that's somebody. Nope. Nope. Okay. Cool. So bouncing ball, composition number one, 1080-24 as always, 1920 by 1080 square pixels, 24 frames per second. And I'm just gonna leave it at 2 minutes in the time code down here. Duration. All right. So I got that up. Then I've already picked out a ball from last time, so I'm just going to import that right over here. So import file, go to my desktop, and just going to look for that PNG, golden soccer ball PNG. Import that. Reason we're using a PNG is for the transparency, that when we drop it in here, oh, it gets the ball, not the background with it. Alright, so I'm going to downsize it a bit, clicking and dragging and then holding shift to constrain proportions. Put it right here. Zoom out a little bit. I'm going to click off of my layer to deselect. Shape. And I'm going to draw a ground plane right about here. Alright. Shape layer here. I'm going to rename it so I know what's what. Simply call it ground here. Come up here to my fill options, which is the blue word fill. Click solid. Hit OK, and then change the color. A little more concrete. All right. And then I don't need a stroke, so I'll go to my stroke options here and turn that off. All right. It's like I lost my mouse thing. Like it's going to be a consistent thing here. All right. So got the ball, got the ground plane. Alright, going to go ahead and rename this as well. So hit enter on top of there. Just call it ball. Collapse this. I don't need that guy for anything. Matter of fact, I can also lock it right here, just to keep it constrained. Alright, so zoom back in. Hold use the mouse wheel as well to zoom in and out. Alright, then we can start animating this ball. And the way we started last time, I'll put it up here. Make sure my slider is in position first, right? And then I'm going to come down here with position. I'm going to edit our position first. Alright, so the general process is slider first. Make sure your slider's in position. Look for the position and check for the keyframe. Right? To get that first keyframe started though, we're going to hit that clock off to the side there. So now I have a keyframe right here, my first frame. The ball's positioned right here. Alright, now I'm just going to put in the rest of my motion path for the bouncing. Slide it down, say about 5 seconds. Drag this into position. Right about there. So it goes underneath the ground a little bit so we can mess with squashing and stretching today. Alright, and 5 seconds later, back up. Right about here, and rinse and repeat here. So it's losing energy, losing momentum, so the bounces are getting smaller as we go across the ground here. And just sort of eyeballing this part here. Right, cool. Right, small bounce. Then a roll. Didn't quite make it to the wall yet, so give it just a little roll to the stop. Okay. Alright, so I can grab my time slider and scrub it back and forth. Make sure all the positional keys are there, positional keyframes. Looks like they are. Okay, cool. Then the next thing we did last class was adjust the values here. Well, after we got the tangents, my mistake, we did adjust the tangents a little better, so need to even out some of these peaks and valleys so it's a little smoother. I'm just going to move those out. You can always zoom in if markers are getting a little small. Alright, if they don't really hit where you need them where you need them to go, excuse me, you can always adjust them to after the fact, right here. Now create a new positional keyframe at one part of the motion path. And also remember, we're moving the motion path and not the ball at this point. We're not touching the ball here. Awesome. Now we have that down, then we can hit Control and Alt to get our control vertex tool here and click on these bottom parts to make a more bounce type motion on the ground here. Alright. Then we can hit spacebar, play it in real time. Now it's going a little slow because we haven't put the keyframes in the right timing, right? We got about like 5 seconds in between each keyframe, so we can always go in afterwards and squish it a little bit, which is what I'm going to do here in a second. It's especially slow. But right before that, I'm going to go ahead and add in my ease ins and ease outs. The ball here, so we'll go back to position. Instead of having to dig through and get to transform here, for less clutter, we can also just hit P for position. Now bring up our position attribute underneath the layer. Going to be this keyframe. I'll be adjusting, pressing, holding Control, and selecting every other keyframe. Okay. Now over here, right click on the blue keyframes that I have selected, go to Keyframe Assistant, and then Easy Ease. And the symbol changes into hourglass is how you know it's easing into the keyframe and then easing out, which means instead of a constant speed as it approaches the keyframe, it slows it down, and then as it leaves the keyframe, it speeds up. That gives it a little more hang time in the air there. And before I review this in real time, I'm going to go ahead and squish these guys together. Select all these keyframes, press and hold Alt, click and drag that last keyframe and squish them all together. Let's remove a lot of the in-between keyframes that's holding it up in real time. Right about there. All right, looking a lot better. All right. All right, and then to adjust the timing a little more, you can zoom in on these keyframes and start positioning them individually close together. So as we can imagine, it's going to take a little longer time traveling these longer parts of the motion path, and a little bit shorter time than some other ones. For instance, falling down is going to go a little faster than going up. So we can adjust that in our keyframes individually. I'm going to use the slider down here with the small mountains and big mountains. Slide it towards the big mountains to zoom in. And then now magnify our timeline here. Right. So that's should be a little faster. And move those down. Just a regular click and drag. All right. And do the same for each of the falling parts here. Squish that in. It looks like I'm just after every ease in, ease out keyframe. I'm just gonna squish these guys together. So I don't have to keep looking back and forth from keyframes to motion path. Keyframes again. Make sure I got the right thing. And it's very rhythmic. Excuse me, rhythmic. Rhythmic? Rhythmic? Oh, mechanical. Alright, cool. I'll be taking just a little bit too much time, so tweak that just a bit. Then it seems like I got an extra keyframe in here, so I'm just gonna select that and delete that. So it goes straight from the last bounce into the roll. I actually have two extra keyframes in here. There we go. So hits and then rolls. We need two keyframes for that roll there. And then I can ease that as well. So I can get that slow roll to a stop. I'll play with this part and see if we actually need to ease in for this last bounce. This is just the tweaking part. I'm trying to find. Okay, cool. So again, we find a drop down option. So to switch it back, yeah, press and hold Control. Switch it to a regular one. There's a couple other keyframe that we'll be taking a look at later, not today, but like a hold. If you need the hold, it's more of a step interpolation instead of having smooth in between transitions from one to another. We'll be learning a little bit about that, and also easing in and easing out on just one side. Nah, that's weird. That's really weird. Okay, so I'll put it back on here. Deselect, reselect that one. Alright. And squish a little bit. Not too much. I want the falling angles to be a little faster than the rising ones. Then just to be OCD about this, I'm going to add in one more bounce. So very small bounce. So to add keyframes in between here, I'm going to need it to be at this position at this point in time. So to add a keyframe without moving it around, I can go over here to my position attribute, and next to that there's a diamond right here. Maybe off to the left here. If I hit that, it adds in a keyframe with ease in, ease out for some reason. It adds in a keyframe right at that point without having to change any values. So that way I can back up just a little bit and then add in that last bounce here. All right, a little better, a little better. All right, cool. All right, so at this point, this is where I lost my project. So let's take some time to go over saving. Um, Again, it's really important to know that we will be using our naming conventions for our compositions, um, for our folders, our project folders, and for our files here. All right, and so the way to save Adobe After Effects, so when we're working with materials that we've imported here, we're going to have a project folder. Otherwise, when we build all the assets ourselves inside After Effects, we only have to do with a .aep file. So to get that project folder, I'm going to hit File up top here, come down to Dependencies. All right, I'm going to hit Collect Files. All right, I didn't save it yet, so it's going to ask me to save the file. Hit Save. All right, down here, naming convention, so Knox, bouncing ball, composition, version 1. Okay, I'm just going to save it to the desktop for now. All right, and then after I finish saving it, it's going to bring me to my Collect Files menu. This is really important. It's fundamental. When we collect files, all it's doing is making a folder, placing placing the AEP file plus this ball file. And the file is a project folder. In the industry, people call it deliverables. So this is how I'm going to check your work once you get into referencing different images and videos and well audio if you like. I won't be going over audio, but if you want to add audio, that's fine. So I'm gonna hit collect. So I already got the name folder here. I'm not gonna call it that. I'm gonna stick to my naming convention. So bouncing ball, and then we can call it project folder. Alright, it's just going straight to the desktop here. I'm going to hit save. Alright, then it automatically opens up the folder with my materials in here. So there'll always be at least 3 elements right in the beginning here. So you have your footage. This will be all the things you've imported for your compositions. I've imported a ball, so there's only a ball in there. Go back out. Then I have my EEP right here, and then a text file, which is settings and technical things going on in the background. But I'll need all 3 of these items in one folder here, so that when I click it, it'll automatically open and I'll see what you see. Otherwise, since this is a referencing program, otherwise, if you just send me this AEP file with references in here, I'm just going to get variables and placeholders. I won't be able to see the videos or images that you used. Okay, so it's saved. It's good. I don't have to worry about it crashing so much. So I've got my ball. It's bouncing. All right. So what's next? So now we can get into squashing and rotating. Now having both of these on here is going to be a little tricky because when we rotate it, we're actually changing the orientation a little bit. So then we have to kind of counter squash it. So let's see. Let's see here. So it's probably best to start off with rotating, but for rotating, we're going to need we're going to need I was going to say we're going to need a null, but we should probably leave nulls alone for right now. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to rotate it in such a way that we can squash it when it hits the ground just right. I'm going to keep it as simple as possible. All right, so we'll start off with rotation, since that's the big determining factor for squashing. All right, I'm coming down to transform and rotation right here. I'm going to start at the beginning and hit clock. Set my first keyframe. Again, to get rid of a lot of the clutter, we can just select our ball layer and hit R for rotation. Okay, so we got rotation. Started off right here. And what we can do, we can start rotating. So we'll say right about here. All right, and you can see I'm going to do this using numbers instead of just using the rotating tool and doing it arbitrarily. Because when the ball hits, we should probably be at one iteration of 90 degrees. All right, so press and hold shift, click the time slider to snap to your keyframes, and I'm going to punch in 90 degrees. I kind of want to roll the other way, so I'll hit negative 90 degrees. Now the shading is going to look a little, odd. But we'll ignore that for now. It's just the exercise here. Okay, so all right, so now it's rotating back 90 degrees. So when it hits right here, it's right at 90. And because of the traction and everything, it's going to start rolling the other way. So hit right about here. You know, I could probably get away with doing it a little further. I'm just going to click and slide this around just a little bit to get an idea of what iteration I'm looking for on this next uh, peak, excuse me, next valley point here. So yeah, so we'll rotate it 180 degrees to positive 90, right about here. I was just seeing what that would look like. So I'm gonna delete this keyframe here. Let's see what we got. So falls, turns the other way, not bad. Right here. So full 90 degrees, we can just do 90 degrees right at this valley point. So 90 degrees plus 90 is 180. That's pretty cool. I like how it just sort of kind of stops there. Still, technically, it would roll, right? As we keep going here. I'm sorry. I'm sort of going off pretty deep here. Are there any questions?
No, I think I understand exactly what we should do with the bouncing ball. It, I understand a little bit, and I'm in writing some notes down as much as I can. But
Okay,
it looks like instruction.
okay. It's a little bit to it. Again, we got the videos. They got me. Um, but tornado watch. Are you following so far?
Yes, sir, I
Yes.
am. I was trying to see, is it okay if I can show you mine so I can make sure that mine's look okay? I mean, it looks all right to me, but I just want to get feedback first, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, it's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine. I'll take a small break here. Yeah, and just when you're ready, go ahead and present.
Okay. Right. Okay. Are you able to see my screen?
Yeah, okay, I see it.
Right.
All right. Dude, that's it, man. That's it.
Okay.
All right.
Perfect.
Well, there's a couple of bounces near the end where it's not quite touching the ground. So I would adjust the motion path
Oh,
so
I see it. Right
it's
here. Yep. That one. I see.
the one before it is seems pretty bad. Uh, no, okay, it's just my frame rate. It's not catching all the frames.
Oh, yes. Okay. All right. Now
All
go
right.
ahead and stop sharing it.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Cool. And then you got the rotation going. Excellent.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right.
Is that for homework or something that we need to do?
Yeah, rotation and then squash in just a little bit here.
Okay. Rotation.
I was in the car because they got a thing going. And I talked to my teacher.
For,
Okay.
okay,
So
I think
okay. Cool. So I'm just going to finish out my rotation real quick. So at the next valley point, add on another 90. So that'll be 270. All right. Then we don't have to worry about squash and stretch, so we can leave the 90-degree iterations behind and just sort of roll it a little bit. So right about here, roll it here, roll it just a tad here, and then this part gets kind of fun because we want the rolling to match with the speed at this point. So let's see how well this much does for us. Okay. So sliding. So I'm gonna rotate it some more. Oh, another thing too. So once you do 100 and excuse me, once you do 360 degrees over here, you'll get a 1 off to the side. And that represents one full rotation. It also goes into negative numbers, so you can do counterclockwise rotation as needed. But if you go over with 360 here, it's just gonna pop a 1 right in there.
Professor Knox,
What's up?
is your screen up right now?
Oh goodness, no, it's not. No, it's not. I'm sorry, guys. All right.
Okay.
Okay, there it is. So yeah, so what I'm doing here is just adding in the rest of the rotation. Once the degrees over here go over 360, you'll get a point right next to it. This is 0 right now. When it goes over 360, you get 1 times the degrees. And that just means it's a full rotation. All right, so let's see. So I got one too many keyframes over here. Right about here. All right, and then so sliding. So I need some more rotation on this keyframe. So press and hold Shift while dragging my time slider to snap it to that keyframe. And then add in some more degrees by clicking and dragging on the blue number here. Oh yeah, that's pretty spot on. Okay, so now since we had um, an ease in key at the end here, it makes sense to add one here. I'm not sure if it's quite line up, but we'll see. Let's see. Yeah, pretty much does. Cool. All right. All right, and that's rotation. That's rotation. That's a lot faster than I thought. Got some speed issues right in here. But for now, let's go ahead and get into our squashing and stretching. So again, if you keep in mind that we want the ball to hit at one 90-degree iteration, when it hits the ground, all we have to do here for our squashing, and then hit ball here, and when hit S for scale, just right underneath transformations here, scale. All right, we'll start keying this in. So, selection tool. So squashing and stretching is just messing with scale on one axis or another. So we can get something, get some sort of like, what do you call it? Not deflation, but flattening and stretching. Another way to put it. The thing is to keep in mind is that every time we flatten it, there's still trapped air in there and needs to maintain a certain volume. So we're going to need to extend the sides out like this. So we're just going to eyeball this. Artistic eye doesn't have to be perfect, but we're just going to suggest some impacts with the ground and then some residual force that's coming off of the ground here. So right now I'm going to undo that. Okay, so I got 27.3 over here. Just going to keep that in mind if I need to punch in its default values again. All right, so this is falling, kind of like yeah. All right. Well, yeah. Actually, just be more of a squashing thing. But okay, so as it's falling, it's going to hit the ground as to an impact. I'm gonna go back in position. I'm gonna bring this keyframe down so it goes underneath the ground there. So layer, hit P, find that particular keyframe, zoom in, bring it down just a little bit, right about here. Okay, and since I need two of them, because I want to line up some of these keyframes with position and scale. It's much more dependent on position than rotation is. So I'm just going to open up the full transform here. I'll highlight my scale. I'm going to go just a little before. Maybe just about right here. I'm going to key in the scale I have right now by hitting my stopwatch. And then make sure the ball retains its shape right before impact here. All right. I'm going to go to the impact keyframe. All right, make sure I'm working with scale here. And then just going to flatten it out like this. Stretch it out like this. All right. And say right about here. And bring it back to normal. And normal is 27.3 and 27.3. I have the constraints on right here. So I'll need to turn those off to get back to my regular ball size right there. Alright, I'm gonna scroll through it to see if it works. Yeah, cool. So it keeps the shape, squashes, and then it comes back to its regular shape here. Alright, so the next one shouldn't be as dramatic as this one. So come here. I'm actually going to raise that position up just a little bit. Right about there. Okay, so work it the same way I work the other valley keyframe. Back up a couple of frames. I just need a keyframe for as it is now. So go to scale, go to this diamond off to the left, punch that. So as in the keyframe as is. And then I guess to save myself some time punching in numbers, I can go a little after and do the same thing. Alright. So then we're back on that valley perfectly like that. And squash it just a bit. Extend it out, maintain volume. Maybe not that much. It's supposed to be less dramatic right here. Okay. Alright, awesome. And I'm going to do this a couple more times. So right here, punch, a little bit after, punch in the keyframe, find that position keyframe. Okay. And then squash. One more time, right about here. Punch it in for scale. Punch it in for scale. This will just be barely noticeable. But it does add a little bit. The human eye does know how to determine a lot of details subconsciously. Alright, just a little bit right here. I'll put it on the ground and adjust the motion path. And then that's going to be indistinguishable, pretty much. Nothing to worry about that. Then we have our roll, and maybe a rollback later on. All right, so save early, save often. Come up here, hit save. Keep everything updated for me. Um, if the reason we have version numbers on a lot of these things, actually I forgot to put my V right here. Stick that in. The reason we have version numbers on a lot of these things is that if you want to experiment with one thing or another, and it requires a good couple of steps, and then you stepping away and coming back to it, that sort of thing, it's probably best to bump up a version number. I mean, technically speaking, in the industry, every time you save it, you always bump up a version number. But if you're doing something that's kind of tricky, not sure if it's going to work, go ahead and save it as another version number. Right? So that means coming up the file, saving as, and instead of 1 right here, you put in 2. I'm gonna leave this since I pretty much know what I'm doing at this point. I'm just leave this at a 1. Alright, and then that's about it. That's about it. I can go back in and space out the timing a little bit here. I gotta keep in mind you wanna move all these keyframes with one another to keep them lined up. That's why it's really important to do this in certain steps. So your position, get your positional speed down. Then you go through and do your rotation in this instance, and then last is scale. And then that's the bouncing ball project. That's all the fundamentals of keyframes here. Any questions, comments, concerns?
No,
No, sir.
I don't think.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Well, okay. It sounds like solid. It sounds like you got it. Okay. Cool. So that's what's due on Tuesday. Is bouncing ball with your position, scale, and rotation values for your keyframes in there. Cool.
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 Okay.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Well, I'll be up and about if you're working on it later or this weekend. Just send me a text or a call. Be glad to answer any questions.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. All right. I'll see y'all Tuesday. Take care.
Like,
What happened?
I think she got a question.
Oh, what's up? What's
I
up?
do. I
Oh,
did. Wait a minute.
I'm sorry. I just heard a and then it's like oh something else. But if you're good, I'm good. We're all good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yes, sir.
There's before I leave. Is there a book for this? Just want to make sure because I was looking around. I can't find it. What does
Well,
it look
yeah.
like
So
exactly?
yeah, the book is After Effects Apprentice. It is on the syllabus. You don't need to get it because the few things that count as reading, I'm just gonna send y'all. Is really just a demonstration book, step by step for this and that. So, but I mean, if you need some text material on keyframes, I can send you a couple of pages. Would that help?
Mm, yeah. I just need some little help. That's it. So I don't fumble on this semester.
Gotcha, gotcha. Okay, so I'll find a section on keyframes and I'll send that out to you in just a couple minutes here. And make sure I get the right pages. But yeah, look out for our email in the next hour or so.
All right.
Okay. All right. Well, take care and I'll see you later.
All right. Bye.